Hi there. So I'm here with Grace Harbor Scanner today, getting an opportunity to interview current Sheriff Darrin Wallace, who is actually rerunning for another term of sheriff. Thank you, Darrin, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
I'm going to start over just in case some people don't know who you are yet. Even though you've been as a sheriff for the last going on 4 years now, 3.5 some years.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what initially gave you the idea that you wanted to run for sheriff in the first place, even back when you first started?
Okay. I'm going to start way back. I'm not from this location or from this area. I'm from, I was brought here by way of the United States Coast Guard. So I joined the Coast Guard after high school at 20 years old. And so in the Coast Guard, when I was in the Coast Guard, I went through each rank, kind of working my way up, get a little bit more leadership opportunities, a little bit more experience, and just work your way up through the ranks, up to E7. And then when I was in E7, a chief in the Coast Guard, I applied to be a warrant officer and was high enough on the list, got accepted, and was promoted to chief warrant officer in 2003 and retired as a chief warrant officer in 2006. A couple of the duty stations I was at that kind of blend into leadership and roles as a sheriff. I was the executive petty officer of Station Golden Gate, which is in South Toledo, California. That unit had about 50 personnel attached to it, 2 motor lifeboats, and our area responsibility was about 50 miles offshore, about 50,000 miles north and south, and then also the San Francisco Bay up to Alcatraz. So we had 50 personnel, managed the budget, the people, the maintenance, all those things. 9/11 hit, and we had an influx of about 50 reservists. We had a lot of threats to the Golden Gate Bridge and the ferry system in San Francisco, so we took on 50 more people with reservists to help manage the waterborne security for that area. A very rewarding job. We saved 10 lives when I was at that station. A lot of good rescues and surf and stuff like that. So I got promoted to chief warrant officer and became commanding officer of Station Grace Harbor in Westport. That station has 55 people at it, 3 motor lifeboats, again servicing search and rescue operations 50 miles offshore and north and south, and the Grace Harbor County or the Grace Harbor Bay. Mm-hmm. We also had 17 housing units we were responsible for, so that was a lot of things going on within that station. I got kind of in love with law enforcement by working at those doing boardings at Grace Harbor. We found a lot of methamphetamine use on the fishing boats, and so I contacted the Direct Task Force because we're in the Coast Guard we just do marine fisheries and boating safety. We weren't used to doing drugs, so we had them come in. They taught us what to look for and what we needed to do to kind of clean the fleet up a little bit. And during that process, they taught us I didn't even know what a meth lab was until I came here. And we found a meth lab on one of the boats there. So we had the first meth lab seizure in the Coast Guard in Westport due to the help of the Direct Task Force. So my 20 years came up and I had a decision to make. I had an offer to go back to Station Grace Harbor, or Golden Gate, to be the commanding officer of that station, or retire and join the sheriff's office. I decided to retire and join the sheriff's office. We had a son while we were here in Westport, and so we decided to keep him in this community, have him go to the same school through high school and that type of stuff. Okay. So then I retired, joined the sheriff's office, and started my career over again. Went to the police academy. I was a North Beach resident deputy for 5 years, detective, patrol sergeant, detective sergeant, chief of investigations, and then ultimately elected as sheriff. So a lot of hats I wore during the sheriff's office, and once again working my way up through the ranks to become sheriff. Right. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, that's all right. So you talk about we're going up in your ranks as sheriff. What was one of your favorite parts before becoming sheriff?
Detective sergeant.
You like the detective sergeant?
Detective sergeant is the best job out there right now.
Yeah.
Today, if I have to go back to anywhere, I would go back to detective sergeant.
Yeah.
You just get to deal with the major crimes within the county. You're assisting. Not only you're doing your crimes for the county, but you're assisting Aberdeen, Hoquiam, and all those smaller agencies.
Right.
An Ocean Shores or a McCleary, they can't do their own homicide investigation. So we help with those investigations, with their help as well. But we're intimately involved in all major crimes within the county, and also to include the critical incident investigation team with the Region 3 sheriffs, Thurston County, Mason County, Lewis County, Pacific, and ours, where if there's an officer involved shooting in Grace Harbor County, we call that team and they investigate that shooting for us. Now, Washington State has Office of Independent Investigations now, so they're taking over most of that. But if the person doesn't die, we're still responsible for doing that investigation.
Right. Cool. With those that particular experiences and stuff, was there any particular experience that really prepared you to lead the sheriff's department that you've been leading so far?
I think it's a combination of going through the ranks and then being chief of investigation, understanding the admin side of the house. I learned how to manage the budget, interacted with corrections more, the courts more, just the day-to-day administrative part of it, and then working with Sheriff Scott at the time. With Under Sheriff Brad Johansson, Chief Under Sheriff Pimentel, all those people kind of help mentor me into that role.
They definitely were the old school and the definitely good role models for sure. I know
Absolutely.
that. So
Yes.
I worked with a lot of them as well. So you ran 4 years ago and you're rerunning again. Is there any particular reason why you've continued with this direction?
Sure. During the last 4 years, with the budget crisis that we've had, we gave back in 2023. Had to give $1.8 million back. In the last 3 years, it's between $1.4 and $1.5 million back to the county from our budget. So it's kind of hard to do anything when you're in a budget deficit to accomplish things that you want to accomplish. So I still want to get through these lean years and try, once we do get in some years where we have some extra funding, come up with that PROACT team. If we were able to hire 2 more people right now, I would be able to free up 2 other people to do a PROACT unit to help solve burglar rings, low-level drug dealers, any issues that are going on in the county. I could stick the PROACT team on it and solve the issue.
I think that's something what Mason County started up recently.
Absolutely.
I think they've been doing that.
Yeah.
So I get you one.
And then also the jail. The jail is a deteriorating nightmare. We put $1.5 million into that jail within the last several years. There was a study done by an outside entity that studied all our facilities in Grace Harbor County, and they're predicting the Grace Harbor County Jail is going to start costing $1 million a year to upkeep and maintenance. I don't see that happening. It's supposed to start next year. I don't see where that far we're going to be starting to spend that much money, but it's coming down the road.
So with that, what are some of your top priorities going into your another term if reelected?
Yeah. Right now I want to maintain what we're doing. We are doing a great job. People love the sheriff's office. We're doing a great job at quelling crime and keeping crime at a low. I get a lot of calls, emails, people come to me during meetings and talk to me about how their interaction with our deputies was so positive. They showed up on scene, they if they had a burglary, they fingerprinted, they checked the area for cameras, did a canvass of the area, talked to informants, trying to solve their crime. They really felt like they cared about what they were doing. And I also get that from citizens that are visiting. If they're broken into their vehicle or a residence that they're renting, they're surprised that we actually show up to these calls because they're on the I-5 corridor where if you have a burglary, they're not showing up unless it's over $10,000 minimum loss value.
Right.
So I really like that small town feel. And crime is down across the county with the last years. I did a study and I forgot my sheet. I had to pull the numbers for the last 3 years, not including this year because it's not done.
Right.
But like domestic violence is down, I want to say 30%. Shootings are down 50%. Burglars are down 35%. Thefts are down 35%. So what we're doing is making a difference. I want to continue that trend and keep that small town feel of local law enforcement apparent.
So one of the things that definitely comes up in topic is staffing. Agencies all across Washington State are suffering from staffing issues, recruitment, retention. Is there something in particular that you've been doing that's been working or that you're hoping to do moving into the future that you think that might work?
Yeah, after George Floyd death in 2020 and the riots and repercussions after that, law enforcement took a major hit. We all suffered recruitment and retention. Maybe not retention, well, some areas retention, but recruitment definitely. We used to get 50 to 70 people coming to our candidate or our testing for our new candidate positions every time. After 2020, it went down from 50 to 70 to 5 to 10. We're getting 5 to 10 candidates to apply for our positions when we get there. And that pool is not what it used to be. The pool is a lot lower. In interviewing some of these people, We ask them a tough question, what's going to come up in your polygraph? And some of these guys are saying, well, I've used meth in the last couple months, I've used LSD, I microdose mushrooms. Those are things we can't have in the police department, or the sheriff's department. So, we obviously watch those people. We've hired some great people, but we had to interview probably 50 people to get, a certain 5 people. So one of my priorities is to start a sheriff cadet program. Aberdeen has a great cadet program. And do a pipeline system to groom our future deputies. My kid was a law enforcement explorer at Aberdeen PD, and he's an Aberdeen police officer now.
Right.
So get those kids early in high school. We know who they are in those 5 years they come through that pipeline of being a cadet. And as soon as they turn 21, we know who they are and hire them. I think Aberdeen's hired 7 in the last 6 years of their cadet program.
Yeah. I know the Sheriff's Department used to have a pretty strong program, but it kind of went to the wayside for a long time ago.
Yeah.
This quick question kind of goes into both, actually, I guess. What would you say your leadership style is, and how does that correlate also with morale of the department?
Yeah, my leadership style, lead by example, but also mentorship. I found it in the Coast Guard and in the Sheriff's Office. Mentorship for me, my supervisors mentoring me through the processes of, being a young Coast Guardsman or a young deputy and how to do our job. Our job is to solve crime, put people in jail, and put them in jail and send it to the prosecutor's office for convictions. That's our job. And training these young deputies on because I have 13 years experience out of 20 years in detectives, showing them how to, if it's a major scene, show them how to navigate a crime scene, find the evidence, how to take pictures, how to interview somebody, both victims and suspects, because they're both different, and how to get that confession. Mentoring people through those processes, and then bouncing ideas off them to, make them a better detective, and ultimately make them a better sheriff's office. So lead by example and mentorship. Mentorship is key, and not taking over an investigation. Show them the path and let them go, because they're going to build confidence and experience by doing that.
Sounds good. That sounds good. Like that. Along with the morale and the leadership and stuff, you quickly kind of get to move into like community relations. That's huge amongst the community nowadays, because there's so many departments out there that they're not transparent, they're transparent, sometimes there's not really much of a middle ground. But what is some of the stuff that you've been doing to build the trust within residents for the Sheriff's Department since you've taken office and moving forward?
Yeah, I think building trust is the day-to-day contacts with citizens, whether it's deputies responding to calls and talking to citizens, reference to burglary, theft, or whatever issue they have. People coming to the Sheriff's Office to get their concealed weapons permit, their Forest Service products permits, any civil issues that they want to talk to. Going to the jail, if their loved one's incarcerated, finding out how they get visiting and how they put money in their books. Or the correction staff interactions with the courthouse when they take inmates over for arraignments and or court. That interaction with the court and the people in the courthouse. I think we build relationships and trust by those daily interactions. But also, like I said, transparency is huge. Get out there on social media and tell people what we're doing. I'll be honest with you, I thought we were doing a pretty good job with that, but my campaign manager told me on a side note that the Sheriff's Office doesn't do a great job at putting information out there. So I think you've seen in the last few months that we've put more posts out there, because what we thought was important, we're putting out, but people want more. So we're trying to give more and trying to work to better ourselves on the social media aspect of it.
I do have to, of course, me being social media,
sure.
I do have to agree with that. At first, there definitely was a long period of lack of that presence online where most people are. And in turns, of course, is, you got one person up in Thurston County who's just all over the place. And then you got one guy down in Pacific County that's semi all over the place. And so it's really kind of hard to find that median, which I agree. But the public definitely has been feeling left out of the loop sometimes in certain areas. And that's it's definitely always an area we all can improve in, for sure.
I promise you we're going to improve on that, and we've made strides already.
Glad to hear that. What's one of the things that you do currently, and also something that you might want to improve on, is communication through during major events, emergency events?
Sure. I think we do. The emergency management does a good job on communicating through the RAVE system, messaging whether it's email or text with the rave system, letting people know what's coming, if there's a big storm coming, if we have flooding, fire dangers, or anything like that. What's cool about that rave system too, you could do the whole county, or say Holcomb's just having their own little incident, you can just focus on Holcomb residents as well. And then, like we just talked about before, social media is a huge tool to do that, but also the news outlets. I've talked to several, Cairo, Como, King 5, and Q13 to get our message across as well. So those are the platforms I would use.
Okay. And then, those are all great ideas. So you've already, again, we're kind of going off, you've been the incumbent. What is some of the, I think you've talked about the jail for additional funding and stuff, but let's go back just a little bit though. Back in November, you had it, or back a little last summer, we had a budget crunch and we got wording out there that we were, tight. I hope you don't mind if I ask, where did we end up with that?
The commissioners gave us what we needed to survive.
Okay.
So we're working bare bones right now. There's nothing more to cut. If we cut anything more, it's going to be personnel. And so it won't be deputies at first, I'll be honest with that. It's going to be support staff. But there's a ripple effect to that. If I have to lay some support special off, that person enters all the data and stuff reference to the criminal activity we're investigating and doing that stuff. So if we lay that person off, it's going to take someone off the road to do all their own paperwork and submissions of paperwork into the systems. So it causes a ripple effect. We'll have less deputies on the road, even though we didn't cut anybody. Right. So right now there's nothing to cut at the sheriff's office other than personnel. What
is something that you'd like to invest in if the money came up?
Immediately short term would be the 2 positions. We've had 2 frozen positions since I started, 2023. 2 frozen positions in patrol and 2 frozen positions in corrections. I'd immediately fully fund all those if I had the money. And like I said, as soon as we funded those 2 patrol positions in the patrol side, we would start a PROAC unit.
Right.
And then long term would be the jail. Working on trying to get a new criminal justice center and trying to fund that. We're working with CRA architects right now to get conceptual designs of a new jail so we can go out to the public once we get these, and hopefully it's going to be by the end of the year, get these concepts and show them to the public and do a road show and answer questions people may have of what we're looking for with this jail and what the needs we need for it as well.
Sounds good. Let's see. What would you tell someone who feels law enforcement has lost their trust? If you came across someone and I hate you guys, and just with a passion, what would you say?
Yeah, I would want to know what the context was, because I think it'd be different. If you're somebody who has a family member who was shot and killed by police, it's probably going to be a hard sell to get their trust back. But if somebody was, say, watching the George Floyd thing and saw that was cruel and unusual punishment and killed a guy, I think we could work with that, because 99% of cops aren't like Derek Chauvin. They're good cops doing good things. So I think that kind of communication back and forth, but also attend block watch meetings, go to the coffee with the cop stuff and talk to these officers or deputies and get a one-on-one with them when they're not in cop mode, when they're in a mode where they're relaxed and can communicate back and forth. Another huge thing I think with building trust is body cams. Body cams is a huge thing. We get a lot of complaints coming in saying, oh, hey, your deputy was this, your deputy was that. And you look at the body cam and it does not match what they say. So body cams is a huge thing for public trust as well. So I think we're on the right path.
On a question on that, since you're talking about body cams, and I get this often actually with the scanner page as well, what's the cost involved in running that system?
It's huge. We're looking to redo next year, and I think we're looking around, it's going to be between $300,000 and $500,000. If we go with the same system now, which are all set up in the cars, it's going to be about $300,000. We want to go to the Axon system, the same one 13 counties using. It's just a better system. It's going to be $500,000. So we got to, roll the dice and see where we want to go there.
Right.
We want to save the $200,000 and do something else, which we'll probably do to save money. But they're expensive. But it's a need. We need to have it.
Definitely. Do you remember what the retention is on those?
What's retention on
the videos?
On the videos.
There's a huge retention on that, which ends up equaling storage space and server space.
Right. It depends on the crime. Say if it's a homicide, we retain it forever. If it's a misdemeanor crime, we'll save it for a year. So it depends on what the crime is. misdemeanor, felony level, or major felonies on how long we take it.
Okay.
Or keep it.
Cool. So one of the big issues that's been definitely rampant in the area, drugs, narcotics, all that kind of stuff. We can't escape it. But we got a lot of kids that are their children are getting into the drugs. They're getting into the marijuana. They're getting into the extra activities. What's something that you would tell a parent or what is some of the things that you think that we could do better on that?
I think kids, be involved with your kids. Be nosy. Be intrusive. Kids aren't not going to like. They're going to get mad at you, but you need to be intrusive. See who they're talking to on the phone, texting, Instagramming, online with. I mean, we all know. We all see the news on what happens. Especially on the online portion. The online predators, they befriend you. They make you kind of convince you to do certain things online that you don't want to do and regret later. And the scariest thing is they convince you they're friends, and they say, "Hey, meet me at a hotel at some point," and then
right.
we you can imagine what happens there. Drugs are huge in Grace Harbor County right now. It's rampant, and you just need to teach your kids how dangerous they are. And one-time use could kill you if you've never done it before, and you take a little bit too much fentanyl, you're going to die.
Right.
And that's my second priority is maintaining the drug task force. We in 2024, the Department of Commerce redirected our funding. We received about $125,000 a year funding for the drug task force. They redirected it to treatment and stuff for drug users. So we have to pay for that out of our pocket now. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to strive to find the money to pay for the drug task force because it's huge. I'll give you one example. We arrested a dude about 6 months ago. One dealer, he was selling about 25 pounds of fentanyl a month to Grace Harbor County citizens. His dealer was in Tacoma. His dealer asked him, "Hey, can you go to 40 pounds a week or 40 pounds a month?" So he was going to try and do 40 pounds. He was arrested between that, but he told investigators he was getting ready to do 40 pounds a month of fentanyl a week to our citizens. That's just one dealer. Imagine how many dealers are out there selling that much stuff.
Right.
So if anything, if we get extra funding, another thing we'd be looking at is standing up and staffing more people in the drug task force.
Definitely.
It's huge.
Definitely good. One of the last thing is, I guess, we kind of covered it a little bit, community engagement. What are some of the things you guys have been doing with community engagement?
Yeah, I think doing the block watch meetings, visiting the Rotary Club, visiting the gun club. People want to know what we're doing, and we're trying to sell that. We're trying to do a better job. Instead of waiting for somebody to ask us to do it, we're trying to prearrange to get stuff done there so we can let the public know what we're doing and kind of brag about our deputies and the sheriff's office, what they're doing, the positive things we're doing. So community engagement is huge, and I think it's good to have that, especially when you're looking to build a new correction center down the road.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, anything you'd like to add? I'm kind of down to the end of my list here. Anything you'd like to add that you think that we could talk about real quick?
Yeah. The jails, it's the huge thing. I think a new criminal justice center is huge. I just worry. We had a member almost die in the jail fire due to smoke inhalation, and I don't want to have to experience or go through that again. So I think it's just a ticking time bomb. It's over 45 years old, and it's time that we get a new facility for the safety of the staff and for the safety of the inmates alike. We have a duty to protect them. And I'm scared that something major is going to happen, and we're going to go back and say, "I wish I would have, could have, would have." Right. So that's just a huge priority of ours, and basically that's it in a nutshell. I think I hit on. I just want it. I think we're just doing a great job right now. There's always things we can improve on. We get people that complain about certain things we do, and we'll take it. We'll own it. And I think that's important for transparency too. If you make a mistake, own it and tell people what you did to correct it. Right. So I just want to continue down that path and make our department better.
Sounds great. I appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate you.